Magandang umaga po sa lahat ng mga kadete nationwide from Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao, sa lahat po ng mga respectable deans, lahat din po ng mga instructors, professors, academicians in various criminology schools nationwide, sa lahat po ng mga criminologists na nakikinig ngayon, at pati na po yung mga review lecturers natin in various review centers nationwide. Welcome po sa Bikoyno. Ang Bikoyno po is a platform in YouTube na nagbibigay po ng libre, walang bayad na discussion, pero comprehensive po lahat ng discussions natin. I'd like to welcome also those students pa lang, yung first year up to fourth year. I hope you already purchased or avail the Bikoyno book. Ang Bikoyno book po natin, isa po yung libro, a compilation of the review materials in all subjects sa lahat ng 6 major areas. Okay, nakakompile na po yan. May question and answer portion din po sa dulo. Okay? So, I hope yung mga estudyante pa lang, as early as now, mag-procure na po kayo. You can give me a chat para we can negotiate po kung saan ko po ipapadala ang libro po natin. I tell you, solid po ang libro natin. Alright? Now, ang criminal law book to po, under the latest table of specification, still has the highest number of questions. Okay? So, ito po ang subject na may pinakamaraming tanong. That is why I keep on telling everyone that as much as possible, i-calibrate po natin yung oras po natin sa pagre-review. As much as possible, ang criminal law book to po, ito po ang subject na may pinakamaraming oras na dapat na ibibigay natin sa pagre-review. Okay? Now, sa mga previous episodes natin, comprehensive po yung discussion po natin. May nagtatanong pa din po kung align po ba ang discussions natin sa latest table of specification. As you can observe, mga kadete, sa lahat po ng nagre-review right now, I'd like to make a clarification. As you can observe po, lahat ng dinidiscuss natin do not only target the topics under the table of specification. Lahat po ng mga topics po natin, hindi lang align sa TOS, but these topics are supplemental on the topics that are reflected in the table of specification. Again, this is my advice to everyone who are reviewing right now. Do not be obsessed sa topics, or do not be obsessed with the table of specification. As much as possible, i-review nyo po lahat ng mga topiko sa subject na yan, because there are times na mga questions sa board examinations are not actually anchored with the TOS. Mas advantageous po pag lahat ng topics nire-review po natin. That is why you can observe, mga kadete, na yung mga topics natin sa mga previous discussions, you will be surprised na wala yan sa TOS. Pero again, nasali po natin, including yung mga topics na nasa TOS na. So again, to answer the question, kung align pa din po ba ang mga previous discussions natin, ang sagot po, yes. It's a big yes po. Alright? Now, again, ang criminal law book to, tapos na po tayo sa Title 5. In this episode, ang concentration po natin will be on Title 6 and Title 7. Okay? Title 6 and Title 7 po tayo. Now, without further ado, punta tayo sa Title 6, yung next title po, Crimes Against Public Morals. Now, dito po nakalagay ang illegal cockfighting as amended by Presidential Decree 449. Now, kung tanungin niyo po ako, ang illegal cockfighting, ang topic po na ito, nakalagay ba yan sa TOS? Ang sagot, wala. Hindi po ito nakalagay sa TOS. Pero bakit kailanganin nating i-discuss? Kailanganin nating i-discuss because as much as possible, i-cover po natin lahat ng topics. Bawal po kasi ang half-baked na discussion. As much as possible, i-cover natin lahat. Yung topics na nasa TOS, pati na yung mga supplemental topics. Mga supplemental topics. So, ang illegal cockfighting, hindi yan nakalagay sa TOS. But it does not mean na hindi natin yan pagtuunan ng pansin. Okay? So, I hope you understand, mga kadete. Ano ba ibig sabihin ng cockfighting? Sa lahat po ng mga sabungero, mga sugarol, di ba? Nung nag-pandemic, nag-transition tayo, di ba? Nung araw, wala tayong tinatawag na e-sabong. Pero ngayon, dumating itong e-sabong, electronic sabong. So, ang sabungero or yung sagarol, all he has to do is to watch the cockfighting online. Di ba? It's a matter of betting. a certain amount of money. Ang cockfighting po, tinatawag po itong cockfighting derby or pintakasi. Ang alam ko po is tupada. Tupada or basically sabong in our own dialect. So dito po sa PD 449 na nag-amend sa Article 199 ng Revised Penal Code, sino ba ang mga liable? Sino ba ang pwede nating mabigyan ng criminal liability? Unang person that could be criminally liable, yung mga tao which directly or indirectly participates in cockfighting. Ano ba yung example ng indirectly participating? When you say indirectly participating, let's say for example, may pera ka and you entrust your money for betting on the other person. Tapos yung tao na yan will be the one to directly bet your money. So that's one way of indirectly participating. Pag directly po, ibig sabihin, ikaw mismo pumusta ka. So directly or indirectly participating in cockfights. Ano ang gagawin ng participant dito? Magbibit siya ng money. Pag hindi pera, pwede valuable things. For example, yung motor mo. Diba? May mga kakilala tayo, may mga kapitbahay tayo, probably, binibenta or sinusugal yung mga ari-arian nila. For example, 1 hectare of land versus another hectare of land. Kasi wala ng pera eh. So, valuable thing as a bet can qualify. Okay? On a day other than those permitted by law. Remember mga kadete, ang pagsasabong po natin, may specified na araw po yan wherein we are allowed to do cockfighting. We will discuss on it later on. So again, yung tao directly or indirectly participating, ano yung mode of participation? Nagbebet ka ng pera. Pag hindi pera, valuable materials or valuable things. Pangalawang tao that could be liable, any person who directly or indirectly organizes cockfights. Meaning, organizer po. Ang organizer dito is also liable. Number 3, any person who directly or indirectly participates in cockfights at a place other than a licensed cockpit. So, ibig sabihin, yung participant po dito, nag-participate siya, pwede indirectly or directly in an area that is not a license. Kasi po ang lisensyado po dito is yung cockpit. Ang cockpit po, isa po siyang arena, basically intended for cockfighting. Alright? So pag nagtutupada kayo, doon lang kayo sa, let's say, sa bakod ninyo, or probably nagtutupada yung mga sabungero doon lang in a certain backyard, which is not authorized by the law, so yung nagpa-participate dyan is also liable. Number 4, yung mga financer, owner, manager, or operator of cockpit, or the gaffer, referee, or bet taker in cockfights can also be criminally liable. Number 5, yung nag-aalaw, nagpo-promote, or participating in any other kind of gambling in the premises of cockfights during cockfights. So, ibig sabihin nito, let's say may cockfighting na nangyayari in a certain area, adjacent to it, may nagsusugal din, for example, card gaming. So, those persons who are participating on that card gaming adjacent to the cockfighting can also be considered as criminally liable. Now, going back, may mga specific days lang po tayo that is allowed by the law to do cockfighting. Okay? This is under Section 5 of PD 449. Ano ba ang mga araw wherein cockfighting is allowed? Number 1, Domingo, Sundays. Number 2, legal holidays. Except, okay? Except may exception dito. Rizal Day, Independence Day, National Heroes Day, you name it, andyan po letter A to G. Alpha to Golf, election or referendum, Good Friday or Thursday, during the registration days of election, blah, 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 blah. Basically, mga legal holidays po ito. So, these legal holidays that you can see on your screen right now, di po allowed ang cockfighting. But in some other holidays, in some other legal holidays po, pwede po ang cockfighting. Of course, again, kailanganin po ang permit dito ha. Number 3, during local fiesta for not more than 3 days. Number 4, during provincial, city or municipal, agricultural, commercial, or industrial fair, carnival, or exposition for a similar period of 3 days. Pwede po yan. Pero, we have to note, ito po, just to make a clarification. Kasi po, there are certain cases po kasi na nagsasabong, pati na yung spectator. Ano ba ibig sabihin ng spectator? Yung pumunta lang doon para mag-observe or para they could see the whole event. Those persons considered to be spectators in a cockfight, they are not liable. The decree, Section 8, PD 449, does not punish a person attending as a spectator in a cockfight. Sino ba yung spectator? Yung pumunta lang doon, nag-observe, tumatanaw, or yung those persons who are just attending. They want to see what is going on. They wanted to see the event. Andun ka lang. So long as hindi ka nagpa-participate, So basically, you are not considered as a participant if you are just a spectator. Pag spectator ka, pumunta ka lang doon, nag-attend ka because you wanted to see. Okay? Under the law, klaro po they are not criminally liable. May mga instances po kasi, in some instances po na certain police officers will arrest even those persons who are just passerby. Yung dumadaan lang, kasi po they're insisting on a 50 meters radius. When you say 50 meters radius, 50 meters from the area where the cockfighting has been held. So pag andun ka daw sa 50 meters, automatically you will be arrested. That is why I'm still confused right now. I don't know if it's a matter of ordinance or not. Pero klarong-klaro po ang batas po natin, spectators in a cockfight are not liable. But you have to remember this, between ordinance and national law, the national law will have to precede over the ordinance. So I do not know. If you will ask me, sir, saan po ba galing yung 50 meters radius? Pag andun ka, even if you are just a passerby, dumadaan ka lang, tapos may cockfighting na nangyayari. So there are certain cases na ni-aristo po nila. Even my uncle, yung uncle ko po is also a victim of this. It was just a passerby, dumadaan po siya because he wanted to get his Carabao which was put somewhere else, but he was in the 50 meters down the radius, he was arrested. And that's sad to say. That is why I'm asking po kung saan po ba galing itong 50 meters radius. So sabi po dito klarong-klaro, spectators in a cockfights are not liable. The decree Section 8 PD 449 does not punish a person attending as a spectator in a cockfight. Ano ba yung spectator? Someone who just watches over, someone who just wanted to see the event. Okay, yan po, spectator. Pero if you are betting money, that's another story. Okay, you will be criminally liable. Alright? Next, PD 1602, prescribing a stiffer penalties in illegal gambling. It repealed Article 195 to 199 of the Revised Penal Code, PD 483, the betting law, and PD 449, cockfighting law. So, in this law po, sa PD 1602, tumaas po yung penalty sa gambling. So dito po, ang gambling could be in the form of cockfighting, waiting, high-alay, horse racing, bokeh operations, game fixing, you name it. You can see it on your screen right now. Karay Cruz, Pompiang, 7-Eleven, Blackjack, slot machines, dog racing, so on and so forth. Okay? Sa mga screenshot nyo na lang mga kadete. Ito po ang mga different gambling na mga gambling schemes. Pati na po basketball, boxing, volleyball, bowling, ping pong. Banking or percentage game, kasali din po yan. Number 2, knowingly permitting any form of gambling referred to in a preceding paragraph. Number 3, possessing any lateral list, paper of other matters containing letters, figures. Ito po sa mga suertres. Small town lottery, suertres. Pero kapag small town lottery naman is having a permit, of course, that is allowed by the law. Ang sinasabi po nito, pag wala kang permit. Number 4, maintaining or conducting above gambling schemes. Again, note, spectators are not liable in gambling. A mere bystander or spectator in a gambling game is not criminally liable because he does not take part therein. Andyan po ang jurisprudence po natin, US versus Palma. Okay? US versus Palma, tingnan nyo po, GR number 2188, 1905 po yan. So dito po, sa jurisprudence po na ito, ang bystander po or spectator should not be held criminally liable. Bakit po? Because they are not taking part. They are not participant. Okay? So yan po I hope klaro yan. Next, illegal numbers game. Okay? Ang illegal numbers game is still a gambling scheme. Another form of gambling. So dito po, illegal numbers game, ang involved po dito yung mga numero. Numbers or combinations thereof as factors giving out jackpots. So, sino ba ang liable dito? Number 1, itong beater. Number 2, yung personnel or staff. Number 3, yung tao that allows his vehicle, houses, building, or land to be used in the operation of the illegal number games. Number 4, collector. Number 5, coordinator, controller, supervisor. Number 6, yung maintainer, manager, or operator. Financer. Number 8, protector or cuddler. Sino ba yung cuddler? Po yung anybody. It could be a law enforcer, it could be a public officer, or a politician who is protecting or who is allowing this kind of gambling scheme. Presumption of intent. Deposition of any lottery ticket or advertisement is a prima facie evidence. Ano ibig sabihin ng prima facie evidence? Ito po yung mga evidence that can stand alone of an intent to sell, distribute, or the use of the same. So, magiging prima facie po yan. So, solong pag may lottery ticket ka in your possession, nako, it's already a prima facie evidence to prove na may nangyayaring illegal numbers game. Okay? Yun po mga illegal gambling po yan, cockfighting, numbers. Nako, sa lahat po ng mga sugarol dyan, sa mga sabongero, probably you consider gambling as a passion. A piece of advice po, nako, hindi lahat po ng panahon siniswerte po kayo. In most cases, you can observe it. Tell me if I am wrong. In most cases, talagang mababankrupt yung funds ninyo. Yung lahat ng ipon nyo po, pag nagagambling kayo, nako, mauubos yan. So if I were you, invest on something that is productive. Right? Invest on something that is productive. I'm not saying you do away with gambling. It's up to you. But a piece of advice, if you want to become financially stable, pati na yung mga natin sa lahat po ng mga criminology cadets natin right now who are aiming to become law enforcers, mga police officers, bawal na bawal po sa atin yan So as much as possible, pag magsusugal kayo, do not do it, please. Do not do it. If I were you, invest on something that is productive. Okay? Alright. Next is grave scandal. Ano ba ang grave scandal? Punta diretso tayo sa elements. Una, ang offender or yung felon performs an act. Number 2, ano ba ang act na ito? Ang act is considered to be scandalous. Bakit scandalous? Scandalous siya kasi it offended the decency or good customs of the community. Define natin ang decency later at saka yung customs. Number 3, that the highly scandalous conduct does not expressly fall within any other article of the RPC. Kasi may mga crimes against chastity po kasi tayo. Like for example, concubinage or adultery. Minsan nga yung kabit o yung paramour or yung paramour at saka yung lalaki has been caught while doing the sexual act. But it's still scandalous. Pero yung event na yan, yung incident na yan is covered by other articles in the RPC. May concubinage po kasi tayo at adultery. Ang sa grave scandal, yung hindi na-cover in other crimes na na-mention sa RPC. So, ma-fall po siya sa grave scandal. Number 4, that the act's complaint of be committed in a public place or within the public knowledge or view. So, dapat po nasa public place po nangyayari. Or number 2, within the public knowledge or view. Na example po nito, nilagyan ko na po ng example para at least po hindi confusing. Example po, a man and a woman went to Luneta and slept there. They covered themselves with their blanket and made the grass their conjugal bed. This is grave scandal. Diba? Remember mga kadete ang Pilipinas po, rank 1 po tayo sa Asia in terms of teenage pregnancy. Remember teenage pregnancy Kasi po, kasi there are certain cases na yung mga younger generations po natin, kasi may cellphone na because of that cellphone, nagte-text nung araw, pag if you wanted to show love and affection, ang gagawin mo po is maghaharana ka, pumunta ka sa bahay ng babae. Pero ngayon, in the advent of the cellphone, andyan na po kasi yung cellphone, nagsa-chat lang, makikita sa isang beach resort. Tapos yung beach resort po, medyo malayo sa mga residences or sa mga buildings. So ano nangyayari? Isang chat lang. 10 o'clock in the evening or 11 o'clock in the evening, pumupunta dun sa beach resort. Shout out po sa Municipality of Shaton in Negros Oriental Nako, may tinatawag po kasi kami dito, tinatawag naming hidden beach. Hidden beach nga kasi malayo malayo sa residences, malalaki yung mga bato. All you have to do is to hide in a particular corner under these big stones, and then you will do all your miracles in that particular place. Paglabas mo, di buntis na. Remember may grave scandal po tayo. Shout out din po sa lahat ng mga lovers dyan, girlfriend and boyfriend, na kumukuha ng dahon ng niyog, tapos ginagamit yung dahon ng niyog as a bedsheet or ginagamit para magiging doon kayo gumagawa ng milagro. Ay, nako. Ginagawang blanket pa naman yung grass. O yung iba pumupunta sa mga sugarcane plantation, tapos doon kayo gumagawa ng anything that is scandalous. Scandalous ba yan? Or probably, sa mga mayayaman, gumagamit ng inside the car. So, ang sabi po dito pag yan nasa public place po yan, that is considered as scandalous. So, ang pwede po na magiging crime dito is grave scandal. Sa mga lalaki at babae dyan, yung mga binata natin at mga dalaga. Huwag mo nang isurrender yung bataan. Remember, we are the very first country in terms of teenage pregnancy. Grave scandal. So ano ba itong decency? Ang decency means properly observing the requirements of modesty or good taste. Ano ba itong tinatawag nating modesty? Pagiging decente. Pagiging, when you say decente, ibig sabihin dyan, formal ka na pagkatao. Okay? Ano ba itong customs? Refers to established usage, social conventions, carried on by tradition and enforced by social disapproval in case of violation. Kasi po, ang po kasi natin, if it is sexual intercourse, it has to be done privately. Yun po yung customary po natin. If you want to do it, do not do it in a public view. Okay? Get a particular room. Kung gusto mo, pumunta ka sa 3 hours na yan, pumunta ka sa hotel or motel or sa boarding house, doon kayo gumagawa ng milagro, but not in a public place. Kasi nga po, it's not modest. It's against the customs of the society. Next, the acts must be performed in a public place or within the public knowledge or view. If it is committed in a private place, the crime of grave scandal is not committed. Yun po ang sabi ko kanina. Pag doon kayo sa motel, hotel, wala po tayong grave scandal dyan. Number 4, any act which is notoriously offensive to decency may bring about criminal liability for the crime of grave scandal, provided such act does not constitute some other crime under the revised penal code. Grave scandal is considered as a crime of last resort. So again, pag hindi po siya nakalagay in previous or other crimes enumerated under the RPC, ang last po natin is grave scandal. Pag ang situation po, paramour, yung kabit at saka yung lalaki, let's say nagsisexual intercourse in a particular place, in a public view, hindi po siya ma-fall ng grave scandal. So probably it will fall into concubinage. Okay? So, depende po So, again, pag ang circumstances po na fall in other crimes, yung crime po na yan will be taken over. Ang grave scandal will be considered as the last resort. Alright? Next, vagrants and prostitutes. I'd like to inform everyone, again, yung vagrancy po is already decriminalized. Ano yung sabihin ng decriminalized? Hindi na po siya krimen. This has been decriminalized under the virtue of Republic Act number 10158. Meaning, ang vagrancy po is no longer considered as a crime. Ano ba itong vagrancy? Yung palaboy-laboy ka sa daan, wala kang means of livelihood, wala kang means to support yourself, palaboy-laboy ka lang. That's vagrancy. Pero again, considered po siya as anti-poor, kaya nga po, decriminalized na po yan. Pero itong prostitution, again, krimen pa din po. Ano ba itong prostitutes? Yung mga babae, who for money or profit habitually indulge in sexual intercourse or lascivious conduct or deemed to be prostitutes. Ang sabi po dito, babae, I'm sorry The following are not acts of prostitution. Number 1, unang sexual encounter for money does not make a woman a prostitute. Ibig sabihin, pag one instance pa lang, for example, this night time, nagbibigay yung customer ng 1,000 pesos in one puff or two puffs. So long as one event lang po yan, one sexual encounter is not considered as act of prostitution. The provision uses the qualifier habitually. Pag habitually po, ibig sabihin dyan, repeating po. Several intercourses with different men does not make a woman a prostitute. If there is no evidence that she indulged in sexual intercourse for money or profit. So, ibig sabihin, pag ang babae will have sexual intercourse, let us say, for 10 men, 10 lalaki, so long as walang pera na involved or walang favor na involved, wala pong prostitution. Pero pag 10 lalaki, and every man in that room will have to pay, let's say, 500 pesos or 2,000 pesos. That's another story. It will be considered as an act of prostitution. So again, I'd like to clarify again. Number 1, one encounter does not make a woman a prostitute. Dapat po habitual. Okay? Ibig sabihin ng habitual, repeating po dapat. Number 2, kahit maraming lalaki, nakipag-sexual intercourse yung babae, so long as walang money, walang favor, walang profit na nakukuha ang babae, that cannot be considered as a prostitution. Pero again, pag may pera na being involved, then lusot na po yan sa prostitution na kaso. Okay? Alright. So yun po ang crimes against public morals, mga kadete I hope I made myself very clear in terms of discussing the topics under this title. Now, punta po tayo sa Title 7, Crimes Committed by Public Officers. Okay? Define muna natin ano bang ibig sabihin ng public officer. Ang public officer po, ito po yung mga tao, number 1, taking part in the performance of public functions. Ano ba ibig sabihin ng public functions? Ito po yung mga functions performed basically in the government. Okay? Or performing public duties as an employee, agent, or subordinate official of any rank or class in the government or any of its branches. Number 2, that is authority to take part in the performance of public functions or to perform public duties must be, una, nakasaad po yan sa batas, direct provisions of the law. Or number 2, through popular election. Or number 3, pwede pong appointment by competent authority. So, pwede pong magagamit ka na, matawag ka na public officer. Now, note po, sa lahat po na nagre-review right now, note po dapat natin na public officers, included po dito, every public servant from the lowest to the highest rank, provided that they exercise public functions. Yung pinakamababa, papuntang pinakamataas na rangko, considered po siya as public officer so long as ginagawa nila is public function. Number 2, a government laborer is not a public officer. I'd like to repeat. A government laborer is not a public officer. Pero temporary performance by a laborer of public functions makes him a public officer. Ano ba ito mga laborer? Mga laborer, for example, street sweeper ka, GO, job order. Job order po. Let's say, for example, yung mga job order lang. Are they considered as a public officer? Generally, they are not a public officer. But while in the performance of that public function, they can be considered as a public officer. I hope nakuha po. I hope na naintindihan nyo po So long as ang point po dito mga kadete is, the moment you are performing a public function, you will be considered as a public officer. From the lowest to the highest rank po yan. Okay? Next. Okay, next po tayo. Knowingly rendering an unjust judgment. Ito unang krimen po under crimes committed by public officer. Knowingly rendering an unjust judgment. So, sino ba ang liable nito? Mga huwis po, judges judge. Pangalawa, nag-render siya ng judgment in case submitted to him for decision. Number 3, ang judgment po is considered to be unjust. Number 4, that the judge knows that the decision is unjust. Dapat alam niya po yan po ang requirement dyan. Alam niya dapat na yung decision niya is considered to be unjust. Question, paano po ba malaman na ang isang decision is considered to be unjust? Okay? Hindi makatarungan. Paano mo malaman? What is the test in knowing na yung decision niya is hindi makatarungan? The test to determine whether an order or judgment is unjust is that such may be inferred from the circumstances that it is contrary to law or is not supported by evidence. Dalawa po. Una, labag po sa batas yung decision niya, but still he rendered the decision is considered to be unjust. Number 2, walang ebidensya or kulang yung ebidensya but still the judge render a judgment in favor of somebody, in favor of what particular party. Again, pag walang ebidensya po or is not supported by the evidence, yung decision na yan is considered to be hindi po makatarungan. Dalawa lang yan contrary to law. Number 2, walang ebidensya to support, walang ebidensya that will support the claim that the person is guilty or innocent. Okay? So, ang sources po of, ano ba itong sources of, saan po galing? Saan po ba galing ang judgment? Okay? May 3 sources po tayo which will influence the judge to render an unjust judgment. Okay? Una po, it could be an error. Nagkakommit siya ng error or mistake. Pangalawa, it could be bribery. Or number 3, it could be revenge or ill will. May galit ka. Probably you know the accused or probably you know the complainant. And then may galit ka. So you wanted to decide not in favor with a particular party. So it could be error or mistake or revenge or ill will or probably yung worst, yung bribery. Okay? So ang tanong po ngayon mga kadete, kailan ka po ba allowed to file a criminal action against the judge? Now, we have to put in mind na tapos na po yung trial. Ibig sabihin, nakapag-render na po yung judgment and you consider it to be unjust. Kailan ka po ba mag-file ng criminal action against the judge? Pwede po ba that after you determine it as, you deemed it as unjust, pwede po ba na mag-file ka agad? The answer is no. Kailanganin po ang certiorari coming from the higher court. Ano ba ito certiorari? Ang certiorari po is basically an order coming from a higher court that will review the decision of the lower court. So, ibig sabihin, pag ang higher court will declare na yung judge rendered an unjust judgment in your case, that is now the time that you can file, or that is now the time that your criminal action can be entertained. Okay? Kuha po ba? Again, I'd like to repeat. Kailan ka po ba mag-file ng criminal action or mag-file ka ng kaso na knowingly rendering an unjust judgment against the judge? Kailan po ba mag-file ng criminal action? Magagawin mo po yan pag ang higher court po will declare that the decision of the judge in that lower court is considered to be unjust. So, paano po malaman ng isang higher court na yung decision sa lower court is considered to be unjust? So, dapat ikaw mag-file ka petition for certiorari doon sa higher court. Pag magbigay na yung certiorari, ma-approve po yung certiorari mo from the higher court. Yung higher court ngayon, i-review niya ngayon ang decision sa lower court. Pag alam niya po na yung decision na yan is considered to be unjust, that is now the time, yan na po ang signal mo po na pwede ka nang makapag-file ng criminal action against the judge. I hope klaro ha. So yun po ha, knowingly rendering an unjust judgment. Next, judgment rendered through negligence. Judge pa din po ang criminally liable dito. Number 2, that he renders judgment in case submitted to him for decision. Number 3, that the judgment is manifestly unjust. Ano ibig sabihin ng manifestly? Obvious. Klarong-klaro na. When you say manifestly, ibig sabihin niya klarong-klaro. Very obvious. Number 4, that it is due to inexcusable negligence or ignorance. Manifestly unjust judgment, manifestly contrary to law, that even a person having meager knowledge of law cannot doubt the injustice. So, the question right now is, what is the difference between judgment rendered through negligence and knowingly rendering an unjust judgment? Okay? Dito po, these two crimes only differ on the fourth element. Okay? Ang fourth element po sa knowingly rendering an unjust judgment, balik po tayo, ang judge po, alam niya po that the decision is unjust. Pero ang fourth element sa second crime na judgment rendered through negligence, alam niya. Ang problema, ignorante lang. There is ignorance on the part of the judge or probably recklessness. Not being careful. When you say negligence, you are not careful. Okay? You are not careful. You do not know that the judgment is considered as unjust. You do not know basically. But still, you rendered that decision, and that decision is rendered out of your ignorance on something, or probably of your carelessness on something. So basically, ang krimen mo po is judgment rendered through negligence. Ano ba ang pinagkaiba sa dalawa? Again, nagkaiba po sila sa fourth element. Another crime na pwedeng magiging liable po itong judge, itong tinatawag nating unjust interlocutory order. Ano bang ibig sabihin ng interlocutory order? Ito po yung issued by the court deciding a collateral or incidental matter. It is not a final determination of the issues of the action or proceeding. Basically, it's an order coming from the court. Ginagawa po ito during legal proceeding. Okay? So, pag ang judge po, nagpe-perform po siya in any of the following acts, magiging criminally liable po siya. Number 1, knowingly renders an unjust, hindi makatarungang order or decree, or pangalawa, nag-render siya ng decree, pero klarong-klaro or manifestly unjust, through inexcusable negligence or ignorance. So, magiging liable po siya. Another crime against the judge, itong tinatawag nating malicious delay in the administration of justice. Elements po nito, una, offender sa judge, may proceeding sa korte, pangatlo, na-delay yung administration of justice, number 4, dapat ang delay is considered to be malicious, that is the delay is caused by the judge with deliberate intent to inflict damage on either party in the case. So, dapat malicious ha. Ano ibig sabihin ng malicious? May negative motive yung judge. Bakit niya dinidelay yung pag-administer ng justice? But we have to take note also that there are considerations in the administration of justice, particularly in the introduction of the various pieces of evidence. Pag kulang-kulang po yung ebidensya dyan, you cannot make the trial speedy. Di ba ang accused, the right to speedy trial? Hindi po ma-administer yung justice pag kulang-kulang po yung title. So you cannot say nga, I will file a case against the judge for malicious delay in the administration of justice. No, you cannot say that. You have to consider the evidence. And you have to find out pag may malicious, pag may malis po ba ang huwis. So if you can prove to the court na may malis siya, dinidelay niya yung pag-administer ng justice kahit yung evidence considered to be sufficient, then probably you can file a case. Okay? Now, another crime po under this title is prosecution of offenses, negligence, and tolerance. Tinatawag po itong dereliction of duty, ha? Mga kadete, can you take note? Dereliction of duty, meaning you abandon your duty. Yung mga liable po nito is yung mga tao who is in charge of prosecuting the crime. Okay? Yung nagpro-prosecute. Sabi yung ibig sabihin ng prosecute, yung nag-determine pag may probable cause ba to hold the person for trial. So, pag hindi ka nag-proceed or nag-institute ng prosecution against violators, you can be liable. Or number 2, maliciously tolerating the commission of offenses. Pati na po yung mga prosecutors who assist, conceal, or harbor the escape of the offender. Okay? So, you do not institute, you do not proceed with the prosecution. Yung police officer, dinakip yung isang criminal o yung isang violator, dinala sa opisina mo for inquest proceeding, but then you did not perform it. So, you will be liable under this crime. Okay? Next, betrayal of trust by an attorney or solicitor, revelation of secrets. Remember po mga kadete, may tinatawag po tayong attorney-client privilege communication. Ang communication po yan, disallows the lawyer of a party to testify against his client. Hindi po pwede. Kliyente po, and then you will testify against him. Hindi po yan pwede. Nor you will be allowed to divulge any sensitive information against the client. Hindi po siya pwede. Kasi nga po, covered siya sa attorney-client privilege communication. So, di pwedeng you will divulge any sensitive information. That will imperil your client. So, mga punishable acts dito, malicious breach of professional duty. Ano ibig sabihin ng malicious breach of professional duty? For example, ang lawyer, di ba duty niya to represent his client in a trial, pero hindi siya pumunta. Or for example, a document has to be submitted. Tapos may reglementary period yan for the submission. But then again, yung lawyer, kasi tapulan, lazy, hindi nag-submit. So basically, may breach of professional duty. Number 2, inexcusable negligence or ignorance. Nagiging ignorante or nagiging careless. Next, revealing any of the secrets of his class. This is what I told you a while ago. Learned by him in his professional capacity. Her damage is not necessary. Okay? So, hindi na kailangan ang damage. Damage is not a requisite. So, as long as the lawyer will divulge secrets of his client that will imperil or probably damage or probably will put the client into the bad light. So basically, it's a violation. Number 3, undertaking the defense of the opposing party in the same case. So, let us say for example, ikaw yung lawyer ng accused. Tapos yung bayad ng accused is only 50,000. And then yung complainant wanted you to be on their side, to be in their side. And the complainant proposes let us say 500,000 pesos. So ang ginawa mo, you transferred on the other party and you became a lawyer in that party. That is not allowed under the law. Okay? Pero pag may consent naman, sabi dito without the consent of his client, sino namang buang na kliyente that will allow his lawyer to take on the other side. Nako, that's abnormality naman po, di ba? After having been undertaken in defense of a client or having received confidential information from said client. So, for short, hindi ka po pwedeng mag-transfer on the other party. Alright? Next, punta tayo sa ito lalabas ito sa board examination. This is already part of the table of specification. So, pansin nyo po, yung mga previous topics, hindi po yan nami-mention sa TOS pero dinidiscuss natin. Para at least mas advantageous on your part. Okay? So, ito, kasali na po ito sa TOS direct, indirect, at saka yung qualified bribery. Isa-isahin po natin mga kadete, Direct bribery. Ano ba ibig sabihin ng direct bribery? Elements. Number 1, offender is a public officer. Ano ba yung public officer? Yung nagpe-perform ng public function. Probably they are appointed. Number 2, through an election. Or number 3, they are mentioned under the law. Okay? So, public officer dapat Number 2, that the offender accepts an offer or promise or receives a gift or present by himself or through another. The keyword here that you have to remember is accept. Dapat na-accept Accept. Dapat na-accept yung offer. Or number 2, yung promiso. Or na-accept yung gift or present para sa kanya. Number 3, that such offer or promise be accepted or gift or present received by the public officer. Okay? Dapat ma-accept yung promise or na-accept yung gift or present. Mere agreement consummates the crime and delivery of consideration is not necessary. So pag nag-a-agree kayo, sabihin mo, Sir, I will give you 1 million on Friday, sir, if you will do this and you will do that. And then the officer will say, okay, no problem, we will do it. So basically, acceptance of that agreement is considered to be under the direct bribery. Letter A, under element 3, with a view to committing some crime. Yung agreement dapat is in relation to the commission of the crime. Sabihin niya, Sir, 1 million, Friday, kindly allow us to sell the drugs. And the officer will say, okay, no problem. That's an agreement. Automatically, part yan ng direct bribery. Letter B, in consideration of an execution of an act which does not constitute a crime, but the act must be unjust. So dito, hindi siya krimen. Sa letter A, krimen. Agreement that there is a crime to be committed. Number 2, execution ng isang act, but yung act is not considered to be a crime, but it is considered to be unjust. Let's say, for example, Sir, I'll give you 5,000, paunahin mo po ako sa pila. Diba? Basically, it's a form of direct bribery. Pag pinapauna ka sa pila, basically, it's not a crime, right? It is not a crime. But then again, the execution of the act is considered to be unjust. Right? Or you will say, Sir, magpa-appointment ako, baka pwede bukas na talaga, I'll give you this amount. Alright? Then the officer will say, okay, no problem, just give me the amount. So, it's not a crime, but basically, yung pag-execute niya is considered to be unjust. Ang krimen po dito is yung nagbibigay ka ng pera or nagbibigay ka ng present, or gift in order for this public officer to execute a certain act, although not considered to be a crime, but that act is considered to be unjust. Okay, klaro po ba? Mga kadete? So, number 4. Or number 3. Literacy pa tayo, literacy. To refrain from doing something which is his official duty to do. So, duty niya, responsibilidad niya, binigyan mo ng pera, sir, wag mo nang gawin yan. I'll give you this specific amount. Direct bribery po. Number 4 element, that the act which the offender agrees to perform or which he executes be connected with the performance of his official duties. Dapat connected po Connected po talaga. So if it is not connected with his official duties, that is another story. Okay? That is another crime. So, una po natin tandaan dito mga kadete na ang krimen po na ito, direct bribery, wala po siyang tinatawag na frustrated stage. Okay? Wala po siyang frustrated stage baka mag-argue naman tayo just like what happened to arson case pag may frustrated or wala ba. Dito klarong-klaro po ito wala pong frustrated stage sa direct bribery. Ang stages po dito, attempted tsaka yung consummated lang po. Sir, kailanganin ba yung resibo, actual receipt of the gift, yung gift, or yung actual na pag-receive niya? Kailanganin ba? Hindi po. That is not necessary. Okay? An accepted offer or promise of a gift is sufficient. However, if the offer is not accepted, pag hindi po ina-accept yung offer, only the person offering the gift is liable for attempted corruption of public officer. Okay? So, let us say for example, common po ito during checkpoint, tapos wala kang helmet, tapos sabihin ng LTO, 1,500 kasi wala kang helmet. Tapos kumuha ka ngayon sa wallet, kukuha ka ngayon ng 500 pesos, sir, pang snacks mo. Pagtingin ng isang LTO officer, si Ninoy Aquino, naka-yellow yung bill, 500 pesos. Tapos sabi ng LTO officer, I will not accept this because this is a form of bribery. Patay ka ngayon, na driver ka. So ano ang krimen mo? Ang krimen mo is corruption of a public officer. Okay? Corruption of a public officer. Yun po ang krimen. Pero pag ina-accept niya naman, basically, yung tao, yung public officer, considered to be liable for direct bribery. Okay? What is the difference between direct and indirect bribery? Discuss po natin yan later on. Ano ba itong indirect bribery? Public officer, nag-accept siya ng gift. Gifts are offered to him by reason of his office. The gift is given in anticipation of future favor from the public officer. Now, probably you already noticed na yung sa direct bribery, ang public officer po, nag-agree po siya to perform or refrain from doing an act. Pero sa indirect bribery, hindi po necessary that the officer do a particular act. Kuha niyo po? Again, indirect bribery, ang officer po, nag-agree siya to perform a particular act or to refrain from doing a particular act. Direct bribery po. Pero pansin nyo, sa indirect bribery, hindi po necessary that the officer will do a particular act. Meaning, you just receive a particular gift or present in favor to you as a public officer, and you were given by that gift or present by reason of your position. Ano ba ang krimen dito? Indirect bribery. Binigyan ka kasi chief of police ka Kasi police ka. May kasabihan po kasi tayo, nobody gives something for nothing. Di ba? Nobody gives something for nothing. Talagang magbibigay yan. Kasi pag nagbibigay ng 1 million per month, even if you're not asking of it and then you accept it, when time comes that that person will need to escape from the tentacles of the law, mapipiga ka ngayon that you will allow him to escape. Kasi nga po, may utang na loob ka na. Okay? indirect bribery. Elements. Again, iklaro natin ang difference later on, ha? Elements sa qualified bribery. That the offender is a public officer entrusted with law enforcement, that he refrains from arresting, prosecuting offender for crime punishable by reclusion perpetua and or death, and in consideration of any offer, promise, or gift. So, ibig sabihin nito, yung liable po dito yung mga tao, law enforcers po public officers entrusted with law enforcement. For example, police officers, NBI, blah, 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 blah. Tapos, you do not prosecute. Sa prosecution naman, this is basically on the part of the prosecutor, okay? Pero yung sa arrest, this is basically on the part of the law enforcer. Tapos, you did not perform it. You do not perform arrest, for example, because you were given money. Okay? So, ang kaso po is qualified bribery. Pero, ang dapat natin tandaan dito dapat yung krimen niya is punishable by reclusion perpetua. Ano ba itong reclusion perpetua? This is 20 years and 1 to 40 years. Wala na po tayong death penalty, di ba? So, pag reclusion perpetua. Pero pag ang punishment ng isang krimen is reclusion temporal, tapos police ka, binigyan ka ng pera. Yung krimen niya, let us say for example is carnapping lang. Let us an example only. Tapos punishable by prison mayor lang, to reclusion temporal. So that is basically lower from reclusion perpetua. So ang kaso po is not qualified bribery kasi yung krimen is not reclusion perpetua. So krimen niya po is direct bribery lang. Okay? Pero pag ang krimen naman, let us say for rape, tapos punishable by reclusion perpetua, and you are mandated by the law to conduct the arrest but you did not perform it, then basically may qualified bribery ka. Okay? Now, para mas lalo pa pong maintindihan, I'd like to differentiate the four. 4 po. Una, indirect. Pangalawa, direct. Pangatlo, qualified. Ang pang-apat po dito, itong Republic Act 3019, itong Anti-Graft and Corrupt Practices Act. Special law po yan. Yung tatlo, yung direct, indirect, saka qualified, RPC yan, diba? Revised Penal Code. Pero itong Republic Act 3019, special law po yan. Now, balik tayo para mas maintindihan. I'd like to repeat this over and over again. Kahit sabihin nyo, sir, it takes a lot of time for you to discuss. Okay lang yan, so long as comprehensive po tayo. Sa direct bribery, ina-accept mo yung gift. Ang purpose po ng pag-accept ng gift is basically, you will perform a duty or you will not. You refrain yourself from the performance of a certain duty. Yun po ang purpose. Sa indirect bribery, ang acceptance is still considered to be a requirement. So, nag-accept ka ngayon ng gift, but not for the performance of the duty, but rather, you accept the gift, and the giving of the gift is because of your position inside the government. Okay? For example, mayor ka, binigyan ka ngayon ng Ferrari. Di ba? Bakit binigyan ka ng Ferrari? Not because you are going to perform an act, but because you are the mayor of a certain town. Again, nobody gives something for nothing. So ano ba ang krimen dyan? Indirect bribery. Pero pag sabihin ng isang tao, private person, sabi niya, bigyan kita ng Ferrari mag-lunch kami ng drug smuggling next week, dapat you will allow us to do so. So the mayor will say, okay, I will accept it. And the moment he accept it, in order for him to refrain from doing a particular act, direct bribery po. Pero again, pag binigyan ka lang ng isang gift, ng isang present, because you are there in your position, again, and you accept it, ano ba ang krimen? Indirect bribery. Okay? Now, I hope klaro na Pabalik-balik na lang yan. I hope klaro na po. Now, ano bang pagkakaiba sa direct, indirect, at saka yung sa Republic Act 3019, itong corruption, anti-graft and corrupt practices. Dito po, sa direct, and indirect, may nag-offer. Okay? May nag-offer a promise, a gift, or a present. Pero sa Section 3 ng Republic Act 3019, walang nag-offer. Ikaw yung nag-intervene. Ikaw yung nag-request. Ikaw yung nag-demand ng gift. Sa direct or indirect bribery, hindi ka nag-demand. Binigyan ka lang. You were proposed. may proposal for you to be given with these valuables. Pero dito sa Republic Act 3019, ikaw yung nag-intervene, pumunta ka doon, and then you say, for you to win the bidding, dapat bigyan mo ako ng 1 million. Yan po. Ikaw yung nag-request, ikaw yung nag-demand of a gift, or a present, or a share, or a percentage, or a benefit is enough. So basically, ang liability mo po is under Republic 3019. So, ang 3019, limited lang po ito sa mga kontrata, di ba? Pag gumagawa kayo ng isang building, nako, dito sa Negros Oriental, gumagawa ng isang building. Tapos, may commission yan, di ba? So, for you to win a particular construction company, in order for you to win the bidding, dapat bigyan nyo po ako ng specific amount. Basically, it's a matter of graft, anti-graft and corrupt practices. Okay? Violation po yan sa Republic Act 3019. Pero pag ikaw lang yung binigyan, sabi ng construction company, sir, dapat you have to allow us to win the bidding. Bigyan ka po namin ng 10 million, sir. Tapos sabi ng mayor, okay, bigyan niya ako ng 10 million, tapos I will allow you to win the bidding. So ano po ba yung krimen? O the indirect bribery na? Nakuha niya po. Pero pa ikaw mismo pumunta doon sa bidding, sabi mo, I will let you win. Bigyan mo ako ng 30 million. Basically, it's a violation of Republic Act 3019. I hope naintindihan na po ang difference between direct, indirect, at saka yung sa 3019. Ang panlast na pakaisip pong intindihin yan, yung qualified bribery. Sino ba yung liable ito? Yung mga prosecutor o yung mga law enforcer. So basically, ang ano po natin dito, requirement, dapat yung krimen should be punishable by reclusion perpetua. Kasi pag hindi yan punishable ng reclusion perpetua, it could fall down to direct bribery. So pag police officer ka, hindi ka nag-arrest kasi binigyan ka ng pera. Pag prosecutor ka, hindi ka nag-prosecute sa krimen kasi binigyan ka ng pera. So ano ang krimen? Qualified bribery. So long as the crime is punishable by reclusion perpetua. Pero pag hindi punishable ng reclusion perpetua, saan siya ma-fall? Saan siya ma-fall in love? Ma-fall in love siya sa direct bribery. Okay? Sa'yo po, I hope understandable po yan, ha? Mga kadete. Alright, so talking about corruption. Corruption of public officials, elements po dito, offender makes offers or promises or gives gifts or presents to a public officer. Then, officer or promises are made or the gifts or present given to a public officer under circumstances that will make the public officer liable for direct bribery or indirect bribery. So, ano ba itong corruption of public official? As mentioned earlier, ito po yung mga taong nagbibigay ng offer, nagbibigay ng promiso, nagbibigay ng mga gifts, nagbibigay ng present sa isang public officer. Okay? Another crime is yung frauds against public treasury. Sino ba ang liable nito? Again, public officer pa din po. Number 2, public officer siya, tapos nag-take advantage siya sa kanyang office. Ang ginawa niya, nag-intervene into a particular transaction in his official capacity. Okay? It could be in the form of an agreement to a certain interested party. Tapos, ang agreement po na ito is about furnishing supplies. Diba? Ito, napaka-common po nito, diba? Let us say you are an employee in a certain municipal or city hall. Tapos may mga materials or equipment na dapat i-purchase. Tapos pupunta ka doon, sabihin mo, you have to give this price or you have to give me a particular share. Yung mga ganyan, nag-i-intervene ka. Furnishing supplies. Letter B, in the making of contracts. Letter C, the adjustment or settlement of account relating to public property or funds. Number 4, that the accused had intent to defraud the government. Ano ba ibig sabihin ng defraud the government? Ibig sabihin, gusto mong lokohin ang government. Nag-intervene ka. So basically, ang krimen po is frauds against public treasury. Next, illegal exactions. Ito sa illegal exactions, dapat i-note po natin na ang BIR at saka itong customs employees, hindi po sila covered under this article. I repeat, ang BIR at saka yung customs, Bureau of Customs na employees, hindi po sila covered under this article. Ito lang po yung mga public officer entrusted with the collection of taxes, licenses, fees, and other imposed. Okay? Sir, ang BIR, nag-collect naman yan ng tax. Again, ang BIR po is hindi po siya covered dito. Sa mga municipal at saka yung sa City Hall, nag-collect po yan ng mga taxes. Yung mga real estate taxes po natin na binabayaran po natin. Or probably yung mga opisina like LTO, nagbibigay po yan ng lisensya, PRC, that's another department, or probably yung business permit. Diba? Fees and other imposed. Sila po pwedeng liable dyan. Number 2, that he is guilty of any of the following acts or omissions. Letter A, nagdi-demand directly or indirectly the payment of sums different from or larger than those authorized by the law. For example, nagpa-process ngayon ng non-professional driver's license. Instead of a specific amount, naghihingi ng 6,000 pesos. Hindi na, tapos sabihin ngayon na this is, you are going to give this particular amount kasi may mga ganyan, may mga ganito. Basically, that's illegal exactions. Next, failing voluntarily to issue a receipt as provided by law or for any sum of money collected by him officially. Now, ano bang ibig sabihin ng receipt? Ang resibo dito. Ano ba ang tinutukoy sa resibo na ito? Ang temporary receipt, allowed po ba yan? Or yung tinatawag nating provisional receipt, allowed po ba yan na i-issue to the client? Ang sagot po, hindi. Kasi ang sa batas po natin, what the law requires is a receipt in the form or in consonance with the law being prescribed. So dito po, ang tinutukoy po dito, dapat official receipt. Klaro? Di po pwede yung provisional receipt, dapat official receipt. Next, letter C, collecting or receiving directly or indirectly by way of payment or otherwise things or objects of a nature different from that provided by the law. Ano ba ibig sabihin ng way of payment or otherwise things or objects of a nature different from the law? So instead of paying 1,500 pesos, you require a person to buy or to give you a certain piece of land as a sort of payment. Nako, hindi mo pwede yan. Or probably you will say, sige, para makapagbayad ka ng 1,500 pesos, bigyan mo ako ng isang lechon kawali. It cannot be, it should not be allowed. It cannot be allowed under the law. Kasi nga po, ang payment po dapat should be in the form of a check or a money. Okay? Alright, so ang krimen po is illegal exactions. Alright? So, pero pag iba naman po, pag, let us say, in the Land Transportation Office, which is very common in Region 7, let us say yung payment is 1,500 only, and then the person will ask you, let us say, 5,000 pesos instead of 1,500, it can be in the form of illegal exactions. Pero pag ibahin po natin ang situation, let's say magbibigay ka ngayon ng 5,000 pesos, kahit yung due lang is 1,500, pero you still give 5,000 pesos in order for you to be exempted in taking the written examination, that is another story. Okay? So iba naman po ang krimen dyan. So mahulog yan sa direct bribery. Ikaw naman na nagbibigay ng pera, doon ka sa corruption of public official. Alright? So I hope klaro. Next, failure of accountable officer to render account. Ito sa mga public officials, public employees, kahit academicians who are working in state universities, government schools, lahat-lahat po. Ang sabi dito, pag binigyan ka ng pera, binigyan ka ng pera, you are entrusted on something or a public fund, ang batas po natin nagre-require that you have to liquidate. I think that's the correct word. You have to make liquidation for a period. Ang reglementary period po dito is 2 months after such accounts that he fails to do so for a period of 2 months after such account should be rendered. So, ibig sabihin, let's say, binigyan ka ngayon ng this particular fund, tapos you're given, from this day, you are given 2 months to render the liquidation. Okay? So, dapat nakapag-liquidate ka, ha? Okay? Dapat you are obligated to render accounts to the Commission on Audit or Provincial Auditor. So, dapat makapag-issue ka ngayon ng resibo to prove na ito po yung napuntahan sa pera. Next, illegal use of public funds or property. O dito tayo, may tinatawag tayong technical malversation, may tinatawag din po tayong simple malversation. Unahin natin itong tinatawag nating technical malversation. Ang technical malversation, tinatawag din po yung illegal use of public funds or property. Okay? Elements po nito, number 1, that the offender is a public officer. Number 2, may pondo, may property under his administration. Number 3, that such public fund or property has been appropriated by law or ordinance without this simple malversation. Just do away with simple malversation. Concentrate muna tayo sa technical. Number 4, that he applies the same to a public use other than for which such fund or property has been appropriated by law or ordinance. So, ibig sabihin, opisyal ka, or public employee ka. You are entrusted of a fund. For example, MOOE, di ba? Sa Department of Education or sa government, may tinatawag tayong intelligence fund, right? Or calamity fund. May mga funds kasi yan allocated on certain area. Now, let us say, may isang ordinansa. Ang nakasaad sa ordinansa, magbibigay ng, let us say, 20 million pesos for the construction of, let us say, 2 kilometers highway. 2 kilometers pavement road. So, kalsada, simentado na kalsada. Let's say 2 kilometers, budget niya 20 million. Nakasaad sa ordinansa. Tapos, ang ginawa ng isang public official, kasi kapos sa pera ginamit na yung, let's say, 20 million in buying certain equipment, let's say heavy equipment. Kasi sabi niya, kailanganin yan yung heavy equipment in making roads. So, instead of allocating it directly in a cemented roadway, binili niya ng isang heavy equipment that 20 million. In that case, he's liable with technical malversation. Nakasaad sa batas, nakasaad sa ordinansa, pero iba yung ginastuhan mo. Okay, kuha po ba? Or another example, intelligence fund. Tapos, ito, nangyayari ito sa province of Negros Oriental. There was an earthquake in Giholngan. Tapos, yung intelligence fund ng provincial government ginamit in spending in order to give aid or assistance to those victims of the earthquake. Ginamit in giving assistance. Although the intention is good, but basically, considering na you misappropriated, dapat po sa intelligence yan pero ginamit mo in giving assistance to the victims of the calamity. So basically, it's misappropriation of the funds. So, technical malversation po tayo. Okay? I hope naintindihan. Now, i-differentiate po natin ang simple malversation at saka yung technical malversation. Okay? As to the nature of funds, both of the two, nag-i-include siya na tinatawag nating public funds or yung pondo ng government. As to the offender, public officers lahat. As to the appropriation of funds, sa simple malversation, wala po siyang requirement. Ibig sabihin, hindi nakasaad sa batas. Hindi nakasaad sa batas. So, walang ordinansa, walang batas na nagsasabi that this fund should be allocated on this something. Kuha po? So, not a requirement in simple malversation. Pero sa technical malversation, dapat may ordinansa talaga, may batas talaga na nakasaad that this fund should be allocated on this particular project. Kuha niyo po? Pero pag walang ordinansa, walang batas, ma-fall siya under malversation only or simple malversation. Now, as to what is done with the funds. Some simple malversation applied to personal use and benefit of the offender or for another person. So, ginagamit mo yung pondo para makapag-benefit sa'yo or makapag-benefit to other individual. Pero dito sa technical malversation, applied to public use other than what it was appropriated for. Ang maganda po kasi sa technical malversation, although na misappropriate yung pondo, but you misappropriated it on another public project. Okay? Pero sa simple malversation, ginamit mo you misappropriated the fund for your own benefit or for the benefit of other persons. Next, good faith as a defense. For malversation or simple malversation, not committed through negligence, good faith is a defense as it negates criminal intent. Pwede po. Magiging good weapon po yung good faith. Ano ba itong good faith? Ginamit ko po yan kasi po dito to help this person. Meaning you have good intention in misappropriating it. So, if the simple malversation, if simple malversation is not committed through negligence, so basically, ang good faith po can be a good defense. Pero in technical malversation, good faith is not a defense. Technical malversation is considered to be a malum prohibitum. So ibig sabihin, number one, ang good faith po is not a defense under technical malversation. Pero ang good faith sa simple malversation, pwede po siya maging depensa so long as simple malversation is committed not through negligence. Pangalawa, ang technical malversation, tinatawag siyang malum prohibitum. Ano ba itong malum prohibitum? Ito po yung mga acts and omissions that are considered to be punishable, acts and omissions that are considered to be evil or considered to be a crime because there is a law punishing it. For short, ang malum prohibitum, ito po yung tinatawag natin mala prohibita. Ang mala prohibita po, sir, bakit ang gamit mo is malum prohibitum? Ang malum prohibitum po kasi is a singular word for, a singular phrase for mala prohibita. Kaya niyo po? Mala prohibita is a plural. Mala prohibitum is singular. Ano ba yung opposite sa mala prohibita? Malainse. Di ba ang malainse, yun po ang mga krimen that are considered by its nature as evil. For example, pagpatay. Yung pagpatay is basically evil po talaga yan. Pero itong technical malversation, tinatawag siyang mala prohibitum. Okay? Kasi po, it can only consider an act as evil because there is a law punishing it. Alright? I hope naintindihan na ang difference between the two. Next crime, conniving with or consenting to evasion. Any public officer who shall consent to the escape of a prisoner in his custody or charge. Elements po dito that the offender is a public officer, dapat on duty ka ha. Ang off duty, hindi po liable. Dapat on duty po dito. That he is charged with the conveyance or custody of a prisoner, either detention prisoner or prisoner by final judgment. So meaning, ito po yung mga jail officers, ito po ang mga prison guards, prison officers, so on and so forth. So, dito po, charge ka ng custody of a prisoner. Ang prisoners dito, dalawa yung classification. Detention prisoner, pangalawa, prisoner by final judgment. Ano bang pinakaiba sa dalawa? Detention prisoner, ibig sabihin, detainee ka pa lang. You are not yet convicted. Prisoner by final judgment, ibig sabihin, you are a convicted prisoner. Okay? Number 3, that such prisoner escaped from his custody, that he was in connivance with the prisoner in the latter's escape. Ano ba yung sabihin ng connivance? Nakipag-collaborate ka. You render assistance for the prisoner to escape. So, ang krimen mo po is conniving with or consenting to evasion. May flip side po dito, mga kadete ha. Kasi po, pag sabihin nating evasion, ibig sabihin dyan, yung prisoner nakapag-eskapo from the detention or from the rehabilitation center, di ba? That's our general perspective when we heard the word evasion. Pero, tandaan po natin ha, na may evasion po na nangyayari kahit ang isang prisoner is nasa loob ng prisuan or nasa loob ng institution. I repeat, may evasion po, may instances po na may nangyayaring evasion kahit ang isang prisoner ay nasa loob or nasa loob ng isang institution. Okay? Now, let me read. There is real actual evasion of service of sentence when the custodian permits the prisoner to obtain a relaxation in his imprisonment and to escape the punishment of being deprived of his liberty, thus making the penalty, blah, blah, blah. For short, this includes allowing the prisoners to sleep and eat in the officer's house or utilize the prisoner's services for domestic chores. So basically, in this case, nasa loob yung prisoner. Diba? Nasa loob yung prisoner, diba? Pero, may nangyaring actual evasion kasi nga po, you do not restrict him. Pag hindi po siya restricted, ibig sabihin liberated pa din po siya kahit nasa loob ng isang institution. Nasa institution nga. Pero but he is free inside the institution. Like say for example, you allow him to sleep in the officer's bedroom or the officer's house, or probably utilize the prisoner services for domestic chores. So in that case, sinabihan mo yung prisoner, sama ka sa akin, pupunta tayo sa bahay. Tapos pagdating natin sa bahay, magluto ka, mag-give ka doon, kumain ka. It's basically still considered as an evasion. Okay? So, yan po ha. Supported po yan. US versus Bandino. GR number 9964, 1915. Okay? So, let us differentiate. I think I already mentioned this one in the previous episode. Yung delivering prisoners from jail. I mentioned this one. If you want to review the previous episode, kindly do so. Ang delivering prisoners from jail is different from conniving with or consenting to evasion. Okay? Una po dito, conniving with or consenting to evasion. Sino po ang nag-commit? A public officer having the legal charge or custody of a prisoner. Sa delivering prisoners from jail, sino ba ang mag-commit? Outsider. Una, outsider ha. Sa conniving with or consenting to evasion, dapat public officer yan. Pero sa delivering prisoners from jail, pwedeng public officer, pwedeng outsider. Sino ba yung outsider? Yung nasa labas. Nasa labas who does not have the official charge or custody of the prisoner. Sino ba yung public officer na tinutukoy natin dito? It could be somebody who is not officially charged in the custody of prisoner. As to the manner of commission, sa conniving, by conniving or consenting to the escape of a prisoner. Ibig sabihin, nakipag-collaborate ka para ang isang prisoner makapag-eskapo. Pero sa delivering prisoners from jail, you remove from jail a prisoner confined therein or helping in the escape of such prisoner. So for short, dalawa ang modes dito sa delivering. Ibig sabihin, private person ka, pumunta ka doon sa institution, ni-remove mo yung prisoner para makapag-eskapo siya. Basically, that's delivering prisoners from jail. Or probably, public official ka, tapos you render assistance in letting the prisoner escape from the prison. So, delivering prisoners from jail. Pero dito sa conniving, talagang you just make an assistance, you just connive, or you just consent the escape of the prisoner. So, yun po ang pinagkakaiba. Again, sa conniving, yung public officer po na may responsibility in the custody of a prisoner, siya po ang liable. Pero sa delivering prisoners from jail, ang liable po dito, pwedeng public official or pwedeng number 2, yung private person, an outsider. Okay? I hope naintindihan po. Next is evasion through negligence. O ito, through negligence kanina, conniving. Ito, through negligence. Elements po dito, public officer yung nag-commit that he is charged with the conveyance or custody of a prisoner, either detention or prisoner of final judgment. Then, number 3, that such prisoner escaped through his negligence, through his carelessness. Nakapag-eskapo po yung isang prisoner. Pero may tanong po tayo, Sir, what if through negligence nga, nakapag-escape yung prisoner? But later, that prisoner was recaptured or arrested again. Question, can the officer be still liable for evasion through negligence? Na-recapture eh. Nakapag-eskapo kasi reckless yung officer. Pero again, not longer from the escape, na-recapture yung prisoner. Question, pwede bang makapag-file ng evasion through negligence kasi na-recapture na? The answer is yes. Kasi nga po, ang pagka-recapture ng isang prisoner, escape prisoner, cannot provide complete exculpation or cannot provide complete extinguishment of guilt on the part of the public officer. So kahit nadakip yan, sa pangalawang bisis, liable ka pa din ng evasion through negligence. Alright? Next, escape of prisoner under the custody of a person not a public officer. Dito, private person na. Okay? Private person, that's element number 1. Number 2, in charge ka sa custody of a prisoner. Okay? Or person under arrest is confided to him, meaning you have been entrusted on the arrested person. Number 3, that the prisoner or person under arrest escapes. Or number 4, that the offender consents to the escape of the prisoner or person under arrest, or that the escape takes place through his negligence. So, ibig sabihin dito, private person ka. Sinabihan ka ngayon ng isang law enforcer, okay, I will entrust to you this person being arrested. Lagay ko muna sa kustodiya mo yan kasi we have to do a very important matter. Okay? So, ikaw muna dapat hindi yan makapag-eskapo. Pero, while you are watching the prisoner, let's say for example, naawa ka sa prisoner So, what you do is, you allow him to escape. Or probably, you permitted him to escape, or maybe, through your negligence, the prisoner or that person escaped from your custody. Ang kaso mo po is escape of prisoner under the custody of a person not a public officer. Kawa po? Pero note, this article is not applicable if a private person made the arrest and he consented to the escape of the person he arrested. So, may flip side po tayo. Pag ikaw yung nag-arrest, pwede ba makapag-arrest yung private person? Yun po ang tanong. Ang sagot po is yes, di ba? May citizen's arrest po tayo. We have 3 grounds. Una, yung tinatawag nating in flagrante delicto arrest. Number 2, hot pursuit arrest. Number 3, escape arrest on the escape prisoner. Wala po yung warrant, di ba? Mga warrantless arrest po yan. So pag private person ka, nag-arrest ka, and then you let him escape after, you will not be liable. Ang liability po kasi dito, it comes when you are entrusted with the custody of the arrested person. Okay? Alright? Next, maltreatment of prisoners. Ito, maltreatment. Ito, kasali po ito sa table of specification. Offender is a public officer or employee. He has under his charge a prisoner or detention prisoner. Then, he maltreated the prisoner. What is maltreatment in this article? Ang maltreatment po dito means overdoing. Overdoing in handling. Alright? Or overdoing himself in the correction or handling of a prisoner. Kailan po mangyayari ang overdoing? Yung say overdoing na sobraan. Kailan po mangyayari ang pagkasobra sa pag-handle ng isang prisoner? Letter A, yung pag-impose ng punishment not authorized by the regulation. Letter B, inflicting such punishment in a cruel and humiliating manner. Letter C, maltreating such prisoner to extort a confession or to obtain some information from the prisoner. Yun po ang mga overdoing in handling the prisoner. So, pwede pong liable ang isang public officer or employee ng maltreatment of prisoner. So, dapat dito yung offender must have direct custody over the prisoner. Okay? So, if the public officer is not the custodian of the prisoner and he mishandles the latter, na mishandle niya, for example, nadakip yung tao, tapos yung escort na police officer overdid himself in handling the prisoner. Let's say, nakagasgas na yung mukha ng isang prisoner kasi binastrok niya na ngayon ng M16, hindi po siya maltreatment of prisoners. Kasi nga po, walang direct custody yung isang public officer. So, in that case, pwede po siyang liable ng physical injuries lang. Okay, physical injuries. Pero pag jail officer ka or correctional officer, tapos under sa kustodiya mo po, tapos you mishandle this person or the prisoner, maltreatment. Kuha? So, sir, ano bang pagkakaiba ng torture at saka yung maltreatment? Iba yung maltreatment, iba yung torture. Okay? Yung torture is more severe compared to maltreatment. Yung maltreatment is yung paghandle. You overdo yourself in handling the prisoner. Pero yung torture naman, which is under the Anti-Torture Act of 2009, this is Republic Act 9745. Take note Republic Act 9745, the Anti-Torture Act of 2009. Ang torture po kasi is more severe compared to maltreatment. For you to understand, let us take a look on the slide. Ang difference between torture at saka yung maltreatment. Sa torture, severe pain or suffering. What is the purpose of the severe pain or suffering? Obtaining information or confession. Letter B, punishing for an act committed or is suspected of having committed. Letter C, intimidating or coercing. Letter D, for any reason based on discrimination of any kind when such pain or suffering is inflicted by or at the instigation of or with the consent or the acquiescence of personal authority or agent of personal authority. So, ibig sabihin sa letter D, may nagsasabi, sabi ng isang mayor, dapat bugbugin nyo yan. So, binugbog mo. That's a form of torture. Okay? Pero dito sa maltreatment, it's just relate on the handling. Okay? Pag police officer ka, during custodial investigation, binastroke mo ngayon ng M16. Is that a maltreatment? The answer is no. It's a form of a torture. Pero pag prisoner siya, tapos ikaw yung jail officer, and you mishandle the person, maltreatment po. Okay? Next crime under this title is removal, concealment, or destruction of documents. Elements po, that the offender is a public officer, that he abstracts, when you say abstract, damages, or destroys, or conceals a document or papers, that the said document or papers should have been entrusted to such public officer by reason of his office, that damage, whether serious or not, to a third party or to the public interest should have been caused. Pero dapat tandaan po natin pag nagdi-destroy ang isang public official, kasi ang dinestroy niya ngayon are just forms. Mga form lang. Ang form po kasi, hindi po siya document under the law. Kasi po, ang definition po natin, ang document po, ito po yung may writings wherein there is a right, wherein a right could be established or an obligation could be extinguished. Let's say, for example, kontrata, memorandum of agreement, memorandum of understanding, may may mga obligation yan So basically, document po siya. Pero kung form lang, a template, form lang, application form, tapos na-destroy ng isang public officer, hindi po siya considered as a document. So therefore, pag na-destroy yan ng public officer, hindi siya liable under removal, concealment, or destruction of documents. Kuha? So dapat yung mga dokumento talaga, ito yung mga writings, mga documents that contains responsibilities wherein the right could be established or obligation could be extinguished. Okay? Pag libro, sir, ang libro ba is a document? No. A book is not a document. Again, a document is a written instrument by which, again, something is proven or made of record. There is a right, there is an obligation that could be extinguished. Yun po ang document. Okay. Pag libro lang yan, kasi libro ng no limitang hiri, tapos na-destroy ng public officer, hindi yan. Hindi siya liable under removal, concealment, or destruction of documents. Next, opening of closed documents. Public officer, may closed papers, documents, or objects that are entrusted to his custody. Tapos, ang ginawa ng public officer, kahit hindi siya authorized, siya ang nag-open. Bagaog nawong ba? Bida-bida. Ito po yung mga tao nag-open. Siguro chismos gusto niyang tingnan yung ano ang laman ng paper or document kahit naka-closed siya. So, ang ginawa niya, ino-open niya ngayon, even without his authority. So, ang kaso dyan, opening of closed documents. Next, abandonment of office or position. Ang liable po dito, public officer. Dapat ang public officer nag-resign siya sa kanyang position. Tapos, kahit hindi pa accepted yung resignation niya, nag-abandon na siya sa kanyang office, which will detriment the public service. Ibig sabihin, hindi makontinue yung operations ng isang government institution kasi nga po, lumabas ka kahit without proper exit. So, dapat nag-resign ka and your resignation should have been accepted. For example, pag mayor ka, saan ka mag-resign? Mag-resign ka ngayon sa civil service. Pag hindi yan accepted by the civil service, so you have to stay. You have to stay until it has been accepted. So, sir, question, pag verbal resignation yan, for example, sa SOCMED lang, social media, sabihin niya ngayon, ina-announce siya, I will have to resign from my position kasi walang pera sa government. Nako! So, ano mangyayari? Verbal lang. Pwede ba yan? Again, ang verbal resignation, hindi po siya allowed under the law. Because again, ang resignation po dapat dito should be written and it has three requisites po ang resignation. Una, yung intention mo to relinquish part of the term, ibig sabihin, hindi ka na mag-continue, di ba? Sa pag-mayor ka, dapat 3 years yan. Let's say, nakapag-serve ka na ng 1 year. So, you state that in a document that you wanted to relinquish part of your term. Number 2, act of relinquishment, meaning you want to tender your resignation. Number 3, acceptance by the proper authority. So, pag accepted yan, pwede ka nang mag-exit gracefully. Pero pag hindi pa yan accepted, naku, huwag ka munang lumabas. Kasi abandonment of office or position yan. Next, usurpation of legislative powers. So, ano ba itong usurpation? Ibig sabihin, hindi ka autorisado, tapos you encroach on the authority of another. Offender nito is an executive or judicial officer. Tapos, nag-encroach, meaning nag-overreach sa power ng legislative branch. Iba-iba po kasi yung responsibility ng mga independent branches natin. Executive, legislative, and the judiciary. Okay? Tatlo po yung branches na yan. So, pag usurpation of legislative power, sino ba yung liable? Yung nasa judiciary at saka yung nasa executive. The overreach on the responsibilities of the legislative branch. By, letter A, making general rules and regulations beyond the scope of his authority. For example, ang judiciary gumawa ng isang batas, that's not the function of the judiciary. The function of the judiciary is to apply the law into contest. Letter B, attempting to repeal a law. Nag-amend ngayon ang judiciary or yung executive. That's not the job of the judiciary or the executive. That's the job of the legislative. Or suspending the execution thereof. Okay? On the other hand, may tinatawag din po tayong usurpation of executive functions. Sino ba yung liable nito? Itong tinatawag na judge. If the judge assumes a power pertaining to the executive authorities or obstruct the executive authorities in the lawful exercise of their powers, liable po siya ng usurpation of executive functions. Next, usurpations of judicial functions. Sino ba yung liable? Ang executive branch naman. Ang executive branch, if he assumes a judicial power or obstructs the execution of any order or decision rendered by any judge within his jurisdiction, liable din po siya. Okay? Second to the last, abuses against chastity. Sino ba ang liable? Public officer. Ano ang ginawa ng public officer? Nag-solicit siya na ngayon ng immoral or indecent advances to a woman. Di ba? May nangyari po sa lipunan natin. Police officer, dinakip yung babae na drug suspect. Ang babae is maganda. So sabi ng public officer, pagbigyan mo ako ng 1 puff or if you will have sexual intercourse with me for 1 night, I will let you, I will let you go out from the institution or I will set you free. So yung mga ganyan, mga advances po yan. That such woman must be interested in matters pending before the offender for decision. Or letter B, under the custody of the offender, who is a warden or other public officer. Or letter C, the wife, daughter, sister, or relative with the same degree by affinity of the person in custody of the offender. So, gusto kayo, for example, dalaw, di ba? May dalaw tayo. Ibig sabihin, meaning the family will be allowed to visit. Tapos, for the family to be allowed to visit, naghingi ka ngayon ng sexual advances against the beautiful daughter of the person in custody. Agoy, that's abuses against chastity. Okay? Now, aside from that, we have to take note na may bago tayong batas na tinatawag nating Safe Spaces Act. Itong Republic Act 11313. Okay? The Safe Spaces Act. Under Section 4, the crimes of gender-based threats and public spaces sexual harassment are committed through any unwanted and uninvited sexual actions or remarks against any person regardless of the motive for committing such action or remarks. So basically, liable po ang tao not just on the revised penal code which is abuses against chastity, but also he is liable under Safe Spaces Act which is Republic Act 11313. Okay? So, I'd like to stop in this episode, mga kadetiha. The other titles, Titles 8 and Title 9 will be put in the next episode para at least we can have time to rest. Maraming salamat po for joining with me in this discussion. I hope I was able to contribute in your pool of knowledge so that you can use it in the criminologist licensure examination. Sa lahat po ng nakikinig ngayon, thank you. Maraming salamat po sa patronize po sa Bicueno po na platform. Maraming salamat and God bless everyone.